going on? This is Dutch coming through Prison Riot Radio, and today we got a special guest, Greg Barrett, that's with NC. His organization is called North Carolina Harm Reduction. G, what's going on, baby?
We out here, man. We out here trying to give a little back to the community. How's everything going?
Absolutely. Now you already know, man. Just putting it all together, man. So let's get into it. The main thing I always ask, the guests that come on is, how long did you do when you was incarcerated?
So, my last bid, man, I did 108 months. I did 5 years before that, and I did 2 years before that, and I did a couple of incidents in juvenile system too. So pretty much all said on the installment plan, I got about 17 years. So
I got you. So tell me, what was different about this release than the last several? What made you get, really get focused this time?
Well, one of the biggest things for me, man, is like, I had that moment, some people call it, an epiphany or a rock bottom or realization, whatever you want to call it. It hit me when I got picked back up. I had only been home for maybe like a year. I just came home from the feds, was out for about a year, caught a new case. They sent me right back to the yard I was just at with twice as much time as I just had before, and it just all came to me one day. I was just walking the yard. I haven't been back that long, and I realized I had spent half my life, behind the walls, and I seen the old heads there on the yard, and dudes in their 50s that still had 15 and 20 years to go, and I knew that if I didn't do something critical to change it, that was going to be me. So that was the moment that I decided, that enough was enough.
That's real shit, though. That's real shit. So let me ask you, with this being the way you did this one, and you had that epiphany, as you said, what were some of the things or the things that held you down, that really gave you hope and motivation as you did this bid? What was it that helped you get through this bid right here?
Well, as far as what held me down, something I had to develop over time was, with some resiliency, because it's hard to change, and I like to even argue that when you're incarcerated, it's even harder to change, because inside the walls it's a lot different than out here. Out in the community, you can move if you need to move, you can change jobs, change schools, all that kind of stuff. But when you're behind the wall, you're stuck where you're at, and so it's hard in there. And for me it was not wanting to spend the rest of my life in there. It was growing a sense of disgust for all the damage I had caused to my loved ones, being out of my kids' life, watching them grow up in pictures and not being there, thinking all the damage I did to relationships and all my freedom that I had lost. That became the motivation for me, to really set the fire under me to start doing the hard work to change.
I got you. I definitely got you. And bro, like we've been talking about it. You came home, hit the ground running. I salute you for all the things you're doing. So as we get into that, what were some of the first things that you did when you came home in order to really set yourself straight to get, to put yourself on the path of success?
Well, I got to tell you, bro, from my standpoint, the hard work started before I ever came home. And I see a lot of brothers, that's where people go wrong at, is they think they're going to have to, I'm going to do it all later. I'm going to wait till I get home and start working on fixing things, and so, I took advantage of those 9 years to really prepare myself, to educate myself, take advantage of every opportunity that was in there to get myself, ready for my release, and to work on making the hard changes, to change my walk, my talk, who I roll with, all of those things I had to do in there before I ever came out here, or I wouldn't have been prepared, so I had to prepare myself in there. And then when I came home, all the hard work that I did in there and the preparations that I made in there and the work that I did, it came out here and it manifested in my walk out here. Because I was a lot more prepared than a lot of people. Because when you come home, there's going to be a lot of barriers, from our criminal records and our reputation in the community and all of the different, consequences that come with the lifestyle that I chose to live. So, coming home and not having realistic expectations about that, and thinking everything's going to be easy and that, it's going to be a cakewalk, you're setting yourself up for failure right there. You have to be, coming home with the mindset that it's going to take hard work. For me, some of the big things that really had an impact for me was education. Getting my Pell Grant and getting enrolled in college really helped get some income coming in and gave me some stability. Reaching out to support groups in the community, recovery support groups, relying on those to get support, people that are trying to do the same things as me, so I have some positive peers to be around. Working on my passion, which was, giving back to the community, finding an outlet to do that, having meaning and purpose in my life, those things. And then, the family support as well, having that component in there, and putting in, like I said, putting in the hard work to rebuild those relationships and to go to school every day and go to work and, and to find an outlet in the community to give back and be involved, and to stay consistent.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, tell me about North Carolina Harm Reduction. What made you start it and what is it about? Tell the people all about it.
So North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition is a grassroots organization. It's a nonprofit organization that is funded through grants to combat the opioid epidemic, and also we work a lot with criminal justice reform in that avenue as well. And what got me really interested was a program that they had in Fayetteville, where I'm from, which is a diversion program that they have here, where they it's a pre-booking diversion program where they try to divert low-level criminal offenders and people that have substance use issues out of the criminal justice system and into treatment. And North Carolina Harm Reduction is one of the partners of that program to help facilitate that, and I was really interested in that, and that's what drew me to them. But the population that we serve is the population I used to serve. I just served it in different capacities. In the past, I sold drugs. I went to prison for selling heroin. And so coming back out and serving that same population, but in a different capacity by, doing linkage to care, providing people with, linkage to resources, mental health, health care, detox, treatment. And also we were operating a syringe exchange program as well, operating harm reduction in that capacity, meeting people where they're at without judging them for where they're at, and working to reduce risk to them and risk to the community through a bunch of different strategies. We do overdose prevention, post-overdose response, as well as, like I said, operate syringe exchange programs and linkage to care, and partnering here in Cumberland County with C4 to bring those diversion programs into the community.
Gotcha. So, because we know that opioid is an epidemic, it's been an epidemic for as long as it's been, even before it was opioid, it was considered heroin. The different communities that been ravaged and scourged, it just continues to grow. So now that you're a part of the solution and not the problem, what are some of the things that you want to see the other entities and of course, local government and politicians get behind? What are some of the things that you feel need to be done to change the narrative?
Well, one of the biggest issues is we criminalize substance users, and substance use disorder is actually a mental health disorder that's listed in the DSM-5, which is the manual that mental health professionals use to diagnose people with disorders. This is a mental health disorder that's listed in there, but if you're symptomatic, which means you're using drugs, that's the symptom of your disorder, we criminalize you, lock you up, put you in jail, which we know through studies, the recidivism rate is at 70%. Jail is not an appropriate intervention for people that are dealing with substance use issues. And so we criminalize these individuals and make it a crime to be symptomatic for a disease that's listed in a manual that we teach people to diagnose other individuals with. It'd be like locking up diabetics for eating too much, And so our whole perspective of how we look at drug policy and the war on drugs, the war on drugs, that's not war on drugs, that's war on people. War on American people that are in this country that we are declaring war on, our neighbors, our family, our children, our parents. These are the people that are actually the person that this war is on. So we need to change the narrative. We need to, rewrite the drug policy, and try to divert people out of the criminal justice system that have these, disorders, and divert people into treatment, education, and those sorts of things. Also, we have a lack of resources in the area. I come across people constantly who are like, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready to come out the streets, but I need medicated detox. I'm not ready to cold turkey this thing. I need help. But finding a place to take them to where they can get that assistance, oftentimes it's like a week out or, 10 days before I can get them placement into a detox to serve them. And in those 10 days, I missed the window because they're ready to change in this moment, but 10 days from now, the situation's done changed, things done changed, and now that, their minds changed and they're not there no more, and I can't strike when the iron is hot. So, it's a lack of resources. It's also a lot of stigma that's involved, and the drug policy and the laws that are in place right now really are perpetuating the problem instead of helping to correct it.
I got you. That's a very good point. So So listen, I mean, like I said again, brother, I salute all that you're doing. I see that the tidal wave that you're up against, and hopefully we'll be able to really make a dent in this problem, because we do have the resources within our own community. We just got to know how to tap into them and force the politicians and force the government to see that we have the solutions. And when they stop playing games, we'll be here to give it to them. So let me ask you, so give everybody the information on how to get in contact with you, how to reach out to your organization and all your social media contacts.
Well, to make it real easy, you can reach out to me directly through email, and that's gberry@nchrc.org, gberry@nchrc.org. That's North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition. You can go on our website, North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition, and get our contact information on there as well. I'm not real present on social media, but those are ways that you can get in contact with me directly.
Gotcha, man. Yo, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, man, for the whole part of these conversations is to show that we come home, and we come home with a mission, whether it's for business or politics or social justice. The bottom line is we're coming home to make a difference in our community, and for that, brother, I salute you, and I want to see you get your flowers, man. Do your thing, and we'll be here with you 100%.
Well, I appreciate it, and for me, it's definitely, that's always part of the equation, but
you have 60 seconds remaining.
Finding a way to give back.
Absolutely.
Finding a way to give back, because I took so much,
Yo, this is Dutch signing off Prison Riot Radio, man, with my man G. Make sure you get at him. Peace.
Peace.